Okay, friends, we are back. And for today's episode, I think it's a continuation of the last one Matt, Felix, and I sketched out. And in that episode, our most recent one, if you go back and listen to it, at the end, I envisioned a scenario. I charted a course out of our sort of malaise, despair, darkness of living in a fading empire, choking out its last breath, with everyone inside, wondering when the COVID is ever going to end, and if we're ever going to have anything better. And part of that, the roadmap that I sketched out here, depends on analyzing a post-colonial text. A post-colonial text that, previously we have asked on this show, and others have too. What if Yoda was 6 feet tall and he smoked weed? What we will do for you today is posit the question, what if Yoda was 10 feet tall and interested in, instead of smoking weed, turning the arms, weapons, and technology of the Imperial Death State against itself in an act of revolutionary violence and oneness with the world and the environment and the World Tree. I'm talking, of course, about Avatar. And, we talked about it last week, and we were so moved by it that Matt, Felix, and I had to go back and rewatch Avatar and share that experience with you, because I do believe, like sort of like the words of Frantz Fanon, it does create, through movie magic, a popular, up until very recently, the highest grossing movie of all time, of which the point is basically that to become a real human being, you have to lay down your life in revolutionary violence against the state. So, to that end, we bring you Avatar, directed by James Cameron of the Dipset crew.
Yeah, this is a movie I've talked about for a very long time, that every time I talk about it, people always go, I don't get this bit. Yeah, the blue guys were funny. I'm not kidding. And I think Matt and Will were kind of kidding.
Yeah.
Yes, I was.
Absolutely.
Before this, they were like, oh, yeah, the blue guys. I don't think they really knew if I liked it or not. But after this viewing, I have successfully Avatar pilled them.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
blue-pilled.
I am blue-pilled.
We've been Pandora
I'm
pilled.
a blue man now.
Yeah, I just want to. So, Avatar, it has a strange cultural place, right? Because it made. How much did it make in theatrical release?
I have this in front of me right here. Hold on a second. It earned $3,537,000,000 domestically.
A record that was only beaten by its disgusting tulpa, Marvel Adventures Infinity War. And
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. No, I fucked that up.
I was like, what? 3 billion?
Yeah, no. Sorry, it grossed over $2 billion worldwide.
Right, still amazing.
$700 million in the U.S. and Canada.
Right. So this was a record that was only beaten by The Adventures. And what's weird about this movie is it didn't have the cultural purchase of The Avengers. Like, there's going to be no... You notice... I was thinking about Jamie Harrison. You know Jamie Harrison, the guy who ate shit to Lindsey Graham?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, right.
I was thinking about how in his Twitter bio he says, fan of Marvel.
I did not know that.
No Democrat. And I thought all about the Democrats who were like, oh, we're like the Avengers, or even like Dan Crenshaw, who loves Avengers shit. It's just soy monoculture bullshit. It's the safe thing to like. No one ever did that with Avatar. But you know what they did do with Avatar? People's middle-aged fathers wanted to kill themselves to be alive in Na'vi. People started questioning Empire. I remember my brother posted about this when I was posting about Avatar literally all weekend, that my mom and dad called him on the phone. You know, he is like an adult with a job. They called him in like 2010 and were like, you have to see Avatar. And my mom, who is like, I think, like in her late 50s at the time, was like, it's about capitalism, imperialism, power, racism. And then my dad just shouted in the background, it's about love. It did have an amazing effect on people. It did have an amazing effect on people, but the media consciously did not want it to be memeified. And it couldn't be memeified because it's too,
You couldn't process, like, people like to point that out about Avatar. Oh, it had no cultural long-lasting impact. Well, what is the actual cultural long-lasting impact of other big movies like The Revengers? It's memes. It's easily digested little pellets of like things that replace your personality. The stuff in Avatar that's memorable, it's not like, it's not guys in suits who do quips and do bants that you can repeat to your friends, because Jake Sully is, as we'll talk about, sort of an intentional empty space in the middle of the movie. What the stuff that like is resonant, it can't be translated culturally. And so it just has to go away. Everyone saw it, and everybody fucking loved it when they were watching it, and they're lying if they say they didn't, because it didn't make that much movie. It didn't make that much money. A total new, not a licensed IP thing. Everybody didn't see that movie and was like, that sucked. It's just that over time, as they thought about it, and nothing could stick because there was nothing in the culture to like pick it up and turn it into anything.
Yeah, and you can't see Avatar and love it and cry like I did watching again. I cried during parts of it. I never cry during movies or anything. I've cried twice in my life. Once when I was born, and the other time was when watching Avatar. You can't do that and then go on with your life. You have to make a choice. You're like, do I love Avatar and the message of Avatar and the world of Avatar? And as we'll get into later, the world of Avatar is just love.
Yeah.
We can live in Pandora. But, and then go, Obama's epic. Obama, who's not pulling out of the Pandora district of Afghanistan. Can you, like a Marvel, even, Avengers, for all their liberal peons, they're so Ken doll-esque, so shaved down, so smooth, that even a full-on reactionary like Dan Crenshaw can love them. But you can't do that with Avatar. You can't be like, I love Avatar and I want Tom Cotton to be president. No. But because both sides of the evil of Empire are represented as the bad guys in Empire in Avatar.
I saw something today on Twitter that said that Chris Evans's portrayal as Captain America probably did more to rehabilitate the idea of America as a good place in the world than anything else that's happened in like subsequent time period. And you know what? There's probably some truth to that.
But the guy who said that thinks that's a good thing. He thinks that's a good thing.
He thinks that's a good thing. And the message of Avatar is like unlike the adventures, like this idea that the good people come together to fight on behalf of like the values that we as Americans hold dear to ourselves. The message of Avatar is that if you are a good person, you need to come together and destroy America and literally lay down your life, in a violent revolutionary struggle against the American state.
Avatar is telling you have to be Chelsea Manning. Like if you can't,
you have to betray your country.
You can't be a cog in the machine and feel bad about it, and that's enough.
You can't be Martin Freeman, the soy CIA man from Black Panther.
Yeah,
you can't do that.
And you know what? I remember when Avatar first came out, and it was phenomenally successful at the box office. As we said, up until Adventures, it was the highest-grossing movie of all time. But I did remember when it came out, like certain conservative critics were very angry at the movie because they were like, "Oh, I was looking forward to Avatar," but then at the end, I couldn't believe that Hollywood has gotten to the point of anti-Americanism in which they would presume that the audience would be cheering to have these stand-ins for American GIs be annihilated in combat.
I was there. They did. They did. People were standing up in the theater. People were standing up in the theater and rooting for the Viet Cong.
Yes.
In Chicago, in theaters all over the fucking country. They were doing that.
And you know, like, Felix, you're right. When I first saw this movie, I thought it sucked. And I thought it was kind of an embarrassment to look back on. And then I sort of ironically liked it. And then I was like, yeah, you know, there's something good about it. But yes, Felix, and James Cameron and his entire sort of canon of movies, which this very, very like fits into, you know, has convinced me that this movie is not just good, but maybe a masterpiece. Because like when I first saw it, I was like, oh, this is just Dances with Wolves. This is just a remake of Dances with Wolves or Pocahontas or something. Like, we've seen this story. Oh, like, you know, like the white guy has a romance with he falls in love with a woman from a different culture, and then like, oh, he sort of adopts it as his own. But I don't think that's really. I mean, that does happen in Avatar, but that's not really what's going on here, in my opinion.
No, absolutely.
It's completely different. It's completely different from Hollywood white savior movies about Native Americans, which, by the way, those movies, the point of those movies is they were made during America's ascension as the sole superpower, but in a new American liberal culture. And that is to say that those movies were, no, we're the only superpower. We deserve to be. We deserve everything we have. But we did some bad stuff, and all you have to do is feel bad about it for 2 hours in an air-conditioned room, and then go on with your life. And you're a good person because you feel bad about it. And we'll throw in a bonus. We're gonna make one of the good guys one of you. We're gonna make him one of your fucking Scots-Irish idiot ancestors. and he's not actually a white savior because he doesn't save anything. Avatar is about a white savior, but it's totally different. It's totally different because Jake Sully, the hero of Avatar, he's a nothing. He's a nobody. He's a cipher, and people criticize this performance by Joel Edgerton. But it's really
it's Sam Worthington.
Same guy.
That's how much of a cipher is. Confuse him with yet another stock Australian guy, like sort of tough guy movie actor.
Exactly, though. But that's like why it's brilliant. It's like, no, he would have to be someone who was on the surplus benefiting side of Earth.
Yep.
But is still so alienated and literally chewed up and spit out, has lost his brother, has lost his familial connection, has lost
his
use
legs
of his body, yes, and is so devoid of characteristics and personality and anything like culture or affection because you could be given all this surplus, literally surplus from space, surplus from the heavens.
Yes.
And you can be nothing because it's not meant for you.
Yep.
It's meant for the guy who owns the company, who processes the surplus. And he's not a white savior who like he's better at being indigenous than indigenous people. No, that's not the point. The point is he gives them the only thing that he can give, which is knowledge of how the empire works. That's that's actual solidarity. He actually helps them in the only way he can. And what's more, he completely sacrifices who he was in the empire. He doesn't go back. He can't go back.
I mean, and that's the other reason he's not a fucking white savior. He's not white. By the time he does the savioring, he's literally one of them. Actually, like you talk about, he's a 12-foot tall blue man. He is. That's it. He's with them. He is as abject and as
he is part of the people. He is one of the Omaticaya.
Exactly.
Because he gave himself up.
Because he gave his life up, literally. He gave his body. His body withers away at the end of the movie. His body goes away. There is no more Jake Sully anymore.
Yeah, he's a Na'vi now. And like people get like riled about that because like, oh yeah, you're letting off, white people. You're letting off, the criminals of empire because this is, after all, what is this? This is a thing for all of these, fussy toddlers sitting in the global West to entertain themselves. But like you said, there's no feeling good because if you by the end of the movie are rooting for the fucking Na'vi and you find anything cathartic about that moment at the end where he literally wakes up as a Na'vi, a full one for the first time, you have to do that by having fully emotionally divorced yourself. Not ironically, not through the gauze of history, but through the actuality of the American empire.
All right, so let's get into the movie itself, because I mean, like, we referred to some of the elements of it, but I think by sussing out the details, I think if perhaps you're rolling your eyes at the case we're making here, I think describing the film itself and some of the parts in it will hopefully begin to clarify where we're coming from here. So the movie begins in I believe it is the year 2154. It is in a future in which we have discovered a resource-rich, densely forested moon of a gas giant planet in the Alpha Centauri system, and that we have been, because we have depleted all of Earth's natural resources, we have begun to mine this sort of Eden-like planet for a rare earth mineral, or I mean rare Pandora mineral called unobtainium, that is now like oil, like petroleum on Earth, is like this sort of engine of our global economy, and like this is our new like sort of extractive form of capitalism. And the main character, Jake Sully, played by Sam Worthington, is a former Marine who has been paralyzed in combat. He's a paraplegic. Paralyzed, by the way, and the movie makes clear, in a campaign fought in Venezuela.
Yep.
So once again, Cameron is telling you here, this is the future, America.
Yep.
This is where we're going.
We got to march over the whole surface of the world to physically secure its resources as they dwindle. And the end of that is not some fixing or getting it to anything new. It's, oh shit, we got to find another planet.
Yeah, we literally have to find another Earth to rape and pillage, to keep our home planet, to keep the system of capitalism going on our home planet.
Yeah. Did you guys see that that like viral news story a couple weeks ago where it's like there's a comet worth 70 trillion zillion dollars in Milky Way or whatever? It's like, boy, if we could just get our hands on that baby, our problems will be over.
Yeah, so like, and it is strongly implied as well that the Earth of 2154 is a husk.
Yeah,
that there are no more trees. There is no more nature on our planet, because we've destroyed it all through the process of extraction, capitalism, and exploitation. So we just have to find a new Eden and the unobtainium there and take it. But the problem is, the planet is habited by a humanoid species called the Na'vi. But the thing is, the atmosphere of Pandora is toxic to human beings. We can't breathe it. We need to be either inside in the sort of a mining town and military base facilities that we build as sort of beachheads to go out and mine this stuff. But we have to you have to wear masks if you're out in the air of Pandora. So the solution to that problem is that the company, in conjunction with advanced scientists and academics, have created a way to clone the bodies of the Na'vi and create a sort of keyed to an individual's specific genetic code, a sort of a Na'vi match for them, through which through the magic of technology and science, you can sort of project your brain and consciousness into, and then you're now inhabiting the body of one of these 10 feet tall Na'vi people, and but crucially, you have free reign now to walk and exist in the space of Pandora, right? And so there's this uneasy alliance here between a military corporation, a private corporation that is also an arm of the United States military, and they use their own Marines as basically private security forces to help the securing of this mineral from this planet and fight any natives, any of the Na'vi people who would wish them to stop strip mining their planet. And the crucial thing here with Jake Sully is that he was never meant to travel to Pandora. He only goes to Pandora because his identical twin brother
Yes.
was he was the egghead. He was the nerd. He was the guy who had spent his whole life training for this and studying Na'vi and preparing to inhabit his avatar on Pandora. He is randomly killed in some sort of like street mugging or something like that. And because it's his identical brother, he has the same genetic code. And they've probably spent $1 trillion creating this fucking avatar body for him. So they're like, well, we're not just going to let it go to waste. If he's a suitable candidate, why don't you go? Like, what are you doing here on Earth? Just, he's in his wheelchair and his brother's dead. He's got not a lot going on for him. So put him on the spaceship, put him in cryosleep, 6.5-year trip out to Alpha Centauri. He wakes up. He wakes up from this 6-year dream and is now in a completely different world. And he gets off the shuttle. He rolls out there. Initially, he meets the head of the Avatar program on Pandora is played by Sigourney Weaver. She is Dr. Grace Augustine, and she is kind of pissed that she has to deal with with the right guy's idiot brother, who she views as just a grunt and a moron, but she has to do it because he's the only one that can inhabit this body that, like I said, they've probably spent $1 trillion cloning and growing in a vat. And to Felix's point earlier in the movie, earlier in the episode here, Sam Worthington. I'll say that again, Sam Worthington. see if that pings anything
Jason
in your
Clarke.
brain.
I'm sorry, no.
Shake Sully, Sam Worthington.
Jai Courtney, what? I'm sorry.
Who is just about he's sort of like the beginning of the character select screen before you add any attributes.
Yes.
That is Sam Worthington as an actor.
He is the default protagonist from a video game.
And the thing is, he's not a terrible actor. It's not like the performance is really grating. It's just he doesn't have any personality or charisma or really anything about him that connects with you or feels memorable, or it's just and again, it's just who the fuck is Sam Worthington? Why this guy? And that always pissed me off about the movie, because I was like, who is this fucking Zero? I mean, T2 had Arnold Schwarzenegger in it. You know what I mean? Aliens had fucking Bill Paxton, Michael Biehn, Paul Reiser, Sigourney Weaver. You had these great characters that you remember and you root for and you want to be like them. But I think when Felix pointed out to me that because Sam Worthington and his character Jake Sully is such a cipher, I think that is actually intentional on Cameron's part. In that, like you said, he is a nobody. He is the type of person that America produces.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and that's in opposition to the protagonist in the Marvel movies, where he's literally a superhero, but he sounds like me. He makes the same references and has the same cultural palette as me. All of the stuff that this just the shit that's I've picked up while rolling through life, like a fucking like a hot dog going under the refrigerator. It being reflected back to me literally out of the mouth of a fucking man god. And so it's it gives you this idea. Those movies get culturally sticky and get memeable because they're telling the audience, hey, look at you. Whereas Cameron's yeah, this is you, dude. This is you.
Yeah, you're boring. You don't have quips. You don't have bands. You don't even have powers.
Yeah. You're just a guy who fucking got blown up fighting for his country, and he says this in the first intro voiceover, even though the technology exists to cure paralysis, he cannot get it because it's
too expensive.
Yeah.
Yes, no, that is a very interesting and telling detail of this. Is that Cameron does not miss a beat. He's you might think, over a century in the future where we've mastered intergalactic travel and terraforming of other planets and shit, we can't cure a spinal injury.
Yeah.
And he's no, we can, but only rich people can obtain it.
Yeah.
No, that's what I love. I saw someone the other day point out how, it was Yasha Levine, how science fiction writers, in their depictions of the future, they do not depict poverty.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just like we lose the will to do that even amongst we lose the will for brutal surplus and misery even amidst other evil traits. And he pointed out that Philip K. Dick was one of the only writers who would detail that, who would
That's true.
detail brutal class oppression even in a future with inconceivable technological advancements. And what I love about, I think the Jake Sully spinal repair surgery problem is he repeatedly does this, where Cameron's vision of this future is, no, there's going to be untold technological advancement, but it's still this world.
Yep.
It's still America. And there's something with the design of the mech that we're going to get into later that perfectly signifies this.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
the dream, the lie we kind of tell ourselves with science fiction, if it's not, like intentionally kind of challengingly transformative, sort of like Star Trek, where you stipulate, no, this isn't our society.
Yeah, this is a post-scarcity society.
Our society blew up.
Yeah,
And
like
then
the point
out
of Star
the
Trek.
ashes, this emerged.
Yeah, like the point of Star Trek is that like all the technology, like faster than light travel, replicators, teleportation, or whatever, are features of the fact that humanity has, or human society has, like it advanced not just beyond the American nation state, but like a post-scarcity utopia in which, because there isn't scarcity and like the surplus created by technology is like evenly distributed,
Yeah.
that we are capable to use that technology to explore the galaxy and like and not at the expense of like it's not like Earth and Star Trek is just like an endless like shanty town.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. No, it's like, oh, we were able to distribute, resources across the planet equitably, and now, hey, let's go see what's in space. Let's see what's up there.
And like I said, what's interesting about Amistar is that like we are exploring space. We are doing probably like one of the most profound things human beings can do: discover life on another planet, walk on that planet, live on that planet. We are only doing it to just continue the merciless death drive of capitalist accumulation.
Yep, and that's because like I said, I forgot. The lie of science fiction that isn't explicitly utopian like Star Trek is that technological innovation by itself will lead to some sort of phase shift in human civilization. Yes. And Cameron is pointing out we've had 200 years of technological innovation. Things have changed, but the basic structure has only intensified a process of extraction.
Yeah, Matt, I see a lot of that shit on Globe Twitter.
Yes.
Is that like they all think they all think yeah, there's a lot of problems, and maybe America isn't perfect, but you know what? With our innovation and like innate creativity, like there will be technological advancements that will just kind of solve these problems.
The cotton gin will surely end slavery.
Yep. Like apparently we have the technology to use to have like basically every potentially pandemic virus have like early R&D prepared, so that if one emerged, we could have a fucking vaccine in like 3 months. But there's no money for someone else to make there other than the money you're paying scientists to help people not die. So
yeah, no, it's
I will
F. Murray Abraham and Inside Llewyn Davis.
I don't
see a lot of money here.
I will make it less abstract. We have a million plus group of able-bodied young adults who could safely provide food and water and every necessity for people during a lockdown, and more than have the funding to do that. That exists. We have been tasking them during this pandemic with driving multi-billion-dollar obsolete technology around the South China Sea and getting lost.
Or having rocks thrown at them in year 25 of the war in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And we have the technology, like you're talking, like we have the people, we also have the technology in the form of, stuff like the basic algorithms that power, things like delivery services. But those only exist to lose money for giant speculative fucking venture capital firms that are pretending that they're going to build a fucking driverless cars or whatever, and are literally just pouring money down a giant toilet that ends with them getting a giant glass cube home to live in suspended animation and forever.
Okay, so like I mean, now we bring up another character that's important to the movie. The villain of the movie is Colonel Miles Quatrich, played by Stephen Lang, who in the movie is actually like very good, memorable performance. It is a very good villain character, and he is the portrayal of colonial, like imperial military management and violence. And like he is a former jarhead, just like Jake Sully, who is now in charge of security for this private corporation. And security means he is there to manage and suppress the native peoples of Pandora. And he's just sort of a swaggering, scar-faced, hard bitten. He is someone who is hardened by the frontier, and he gives this spiel to all the people when they first arrive on Pandora, where he's like, "Make no mistake, everything outside that wall wants to kill you, and it is my job to keep you alive. I will not succeed. Look to your right, look to your left. One of those people is going to be dead in the next 6 months."
Dental school is very difficult. I expect a third of you to wash out.
A lot of people like when we're trying to make fun of Avatar, they will point out that the first thing he says is, "You're not in Kansas anymore," and they roll their eyes. That's a fucking cliche. What do you think this asshole would say to those guys?
That's how those assholes talk. That's how every fucking jarhead that goes on to start a racist coffee company, they're all like that. Like the tagline to all their coffee is like, "This isn't your gay dad's coffee. It has pork in it, so Muslims can't drink it." How about that?
Yeah.
They're all
in the coffee commercial when they're firing a minigun at a bag of Starbucks coffee, they'll just say shit like, "Say hello to my little friend."
Yeah.
Because that's how their brains work. So eventually, Jake Sully gets to port into his avatar body. And the first thing he does is the scientists are like, no, you have to lie down. Your vitals are spiking or whatever. And he just feels his toes move, and he runs out of the building because he's experiencing for the first time in a long time mobility. He experiences this ecstatic joy of being in control of not just his body again, but this perfect angelic. 10 feet tall, like a angel, basically.
Yeah, he's reborn. He has capacities that Earth. Remember this: capacities that the Earth society is preventing him from using. They took his legs by sending him to get blown up in Nigeria or whatever. By the way, all the countries they talk about them fighting in are ones where there's oil.
Yes, no. Quatrich says he fought in several campaigns in Nigeria, and Jake Sully was a recon marine in the Venezuela campaign.
And then it's all right, you got us that oil. We have a society that can cure spinal injuries. Good job getting us that oil. What about my spine? Who's new phone? Who's this?
Motherfucker. Jake Sully, we're going to do an awareness-raising concert about Marines who lost their spines in Venezuela with the Modest Yahoo hologram. Good luck, bro.
Okay, now here's another important facet of this, because I said in the sort of corporate, military, colonial, imperial management of this mining project, there's sort of two nodes of it. There's Quatrich and his sort of private security, and that's the thing. They're not just private security; they are the official armed forces of the United States or global government at the time. But they are just contracting directly for a private corporation. They're not just mercenaries; they are soldiers acting as mercenaries on behalf of a private company. But they are still technically in uniform. But the other half of that are the scientists. Sigourney Weaver's character, and there's another guy who has been sent to Pandora, and he has his own avatar body waiting for him. And he's one of these nerds. He's a nerd who's been waiting for this his whole life. He went to school for this. He studied 5 years to learn the language. And
these are the PMC.
Yes, exactly.
Yes,
exactly. and like the scientists think that they're different than the brutal imperial machine who is funding all of their research. And they look at all they look at all of this like the perfect and wonderful opportunity to pursue their research like as they see it. They don't see themselves as part of the same apparatus as these military assholes who they have to work under. And then like I guess like the head of the whole operation is played by Giovanni Ribisi, and like he's sort of he's the corporate dickhead. He's the Paul Reiser character from Aliens.
But like if he was in like but he is the shot caller on the base, from the corporate.
Yeah, like Quattridge is technically under his command, right? And it's very telling that the first scene you see with Giovanni Ribisi, he's in like the ops center, he's in his command office or whatever, and what is he doing? He's fucking putting. He's playing golf.
Yeah, he has
it's the year 2154. He's on an alien planet. And what is he doing? He's practicing his fucking putt.
Yep.
He's on an alien planet with sights and flora and fauna more beautiful and that the human mind can barely even process. Like just heavenly beauties. And he's like, when I get back to Earth, they're going to wonder how my putt got so good. It's it's perfect. The PMCs are so perfect, but the range of the PMCs are so good because Giovanni Ribisi, he's sort of like the McKinsey guy. He's like, hey, come on. All right. Silly season is over. Stop fucking around with the blue bullshit. We got to get the bottom line going. But Sigourney Weaver plays like sort of a Samantha Power type.
Yes. And both her avatar body and her human body, she wears Stanford t-shirts.
And has red hair.
It's so that is not unintentional.
Yeah.
That is not unintentional. But it's like what's so great about it is like the PMCs who like think that they're better than the Marines or Giovanni Ribisi because they have an appreciation for this culture that they are just as well raping and pillaging, just sticking their fingers in the open sores of this beautiful planet. They think they're better because they think when they go home, they're going to like introduce Na'vi words into conversation and tell people the blue guys aren't all terrorists.
And here's the most important part, though. They think they're different than like the brutal military exploitation. But the thing is, they and their research projects and their avatar program are the single most effective means of oppressing and exploiting the Na'vi people.
They're USAID.
Pandora.
Yep. Yes. Because they set it up like we want to get this unobtainium. These blue people are here. They're not high tech enough to stop us from taking it, really, but they do.
But they're good enough to fucking kill us real easy if they want to.
And so it's like the best way to do this, the lowest cost way to do this is to get some fucking nerds in here who read some books about these assholes and try to talk to them, and then make them into the blue people themselves.
And then what do? Offer them roads, offer them education.
Yeah, they all. Everyone knows English in the Na'vi country, in the village because they got taught by Sigourney Weavers. Like, okay, why are you doing this? It's not for the benefit of the Na'vi. They did not need anything. What you need is to feel good about the fact that you're destroying their fucking planet. And that's what everybody back home on Earth has to feel like too.
So, I mean, it gets going when like, okay, so Jake Sully in his avatar body, like eventually, like, you know, he goes out into the bush. He goes out into the vast, like the Eden-like forests of this planet, and you know he's essentially there as sort of a bodyguard for Sigourney Weaver and the other nerd in their avatar bodies. And you know they're walking around out there, and he has a gun. He's got a big ass gun as a Na'vi person, and you know he's walking around out there and he's taking in the sights, and it's all pretty cool. They got, oh wow, here's a mushroom that's 10 feet in diameter. Here's plants that glow when you touch them. You know, here's a tree that's as tall as the Empire State Building. He's walking around out there, and then eventually, because he's a dumbass and he doesn't know or respect the environment he's in. He has a run-in with a creature I believe on film they call a Thanator, which is basically like a sort of, I don't know, imagine a tiger covered in like, bulletproof plates and 6 legs. And the tiger chases him through the forest. He gets separated from Sigourney Weaver and the other guy. And he's out alone by himself at night in this alien jungle forest. And while he's, stumbling about, being beset by, there's sort of like a species of dog-like things that also have 6 legs. They're like Dobermans, but wetter.
Yeah, very wet, very sleek.
And he's bumbling around out there trying to survive. And who comes across him? But basically the princess of one of the main village. Her name is Neytiri. And she is played through all mocap by Zoe Saldana. And, she initially sees him because she's drawing a bead on him with her enormous bow and arrow, which is actually, I think, one of the cooler parts of this movie is that the Na'vi's bow and arrows, because they're 10 feet tall, shoot arrows that are basically like being run through with a pool cue. They're enormous. And she's drawing a bead on him because they understand what the Avatar program is.
Yeah,
they understand that just because this asshole looks like them, but he's still walking around with fucking pants and a fucking and an iPhone and shit. They understand that this is a false body being possessed by a demon, and she rightly understands that if you see one, you should kill it.
Yes,
but in kind of a corny way. As she's drawing a bead on him with the arrow, she sees this sort of this ethereal spore floating on the air, sort of dancing through the air that lands on the tip of her arrow right at the decisive moment, and she interprets that as a sign from the deity that they worship, Awa, which is Awa represents this kind of this biological network that connects all living things on Pandora, from the giant mushrooms to the trees
to the wet dogs,
to the wet dogs to the fucking the mega tiger, and she pauses, and then she saves him from the wet dogs, and then he's like, thanks, hey, it was pretty cool, right? And then she's mad at him. She keeps calling him baby.
You're baby.
You are baby. You are baby, because he's irresponsible. He doesn't take responsibility for anything. He's loud, and he very much like a baby on his own doesn't know how to live. Literally, will die without an adult. So she decides to become his adult, and then there's another scene where the same sort of ethereal, angelic world tree spores, dozens of them, sort of just jizz all over him.
Yep.
And they cover his whole body, and she's like, "Oh well, I mean, shit. If the first world tree jizz wasn't a sign from God, then just them gangbanging this fucking moron.
I can.
There's something here, right?" And in a classic, as I mentioned, a sort of Pocahontas, Dances with Wolves style narrative, she sort of adopts him as her own, takes him back to the village, and sort of brings him before her mother and father, who are sort of the village elders, the leaders of this tribe. Her father is the chief, and her mother is the high priestess, the spiritual leader of their tribe, of their community. And the dad wants to kill him, rightly, correctly so. But the mother does take these sort of signs and wonders from the world tree seriously, and basically says to her daughter, "He's your responsibility now. You got to teach him our ways." And interestingly, she says, "We will see if his insanity can be cured." Mm-hmm. Because what we think, our normal human behavior, our way of doing things, our way of seeing the world, is to them clinical insanity.
Mm-hmm. Not just insanity, but a term we've used before to describe imperialism, or a strain of imperialism, or a part of imperialism: crackpot realism. Yeah. What is crackpot realism? But 100 years in the future, you have committed wars in Africa, in South America, God knows where else in this alternate history that Cameron has built, all over the world, raping the earth, killing millions, making the earth uninhabitable and then running it down to its core. All that surplus, none of it put into developing anything sustainable, none of it into developing a better way of life. Taking the people who got you those resources, who killed those people for you, and throwing them in the fucking garbage and going, hey, do you want to become a blue guy, I guess? Yeah, here you go, dumb fuck. And Sully himself, he throws his body away doing this. He throws his life away. He has nothing. Yeah, of course I'll help you. Yeah, of course I'll do this. Of course I'll do another thing for the Empire who I did so much for, and I have gotten nothing from it. I could just pretend I know how to walk in this piece of military technology that they made just for extracting more resources. And if they do get those resources, what do you think happens? They run through it just like everything else.
Yep.
Onto the next planet until you run out of planets.
We got to go to the next planet to keep doing this thing.
Yeah.
That sucks.
That is the most insane thing. That is imperialism.
Yep.
It's insanity. It's insanity for everyone except for the fucking reptiles.
Yep. Because they're the ones who actually gain succor from sitting in an air-conditioned room and fucking putting on a fake green.
Yes.
So yeah, like so he becomes sort of adopted by this tribe and by Netheria, and she's going to teach him their ways. And then, like, of course, like he is able to, he wakes up in his human body and is back in home base. And they're all very excited to find out that he has accidentally gained access to something that they've been trying to do for years. And both Sigourney Weaver and Stephen Lang, the military asshole, both realize how valuable he is now. And they both want to use him for their own purposes. Sigourney Weaver, so that like he can be shown things about their biology, their culture, and like the way they interact with their planet that she's been trying to figure out, and then like this idea of this like I said, this biological network that is like the whole planet is like a brain, and like every living thing is a neuron in that is connected to a larger whole. So they have this like whole, like not just a spiritual understanding of this like holistic vision of the environment, but a literal one. Mm-hmm. Steve Quattritz, the Stephen Lang guy, understands that like, oh, I now have a Marine in a Na'vi body who can do scat recon for me. And he's going to get me all the intelligence that I need to, as he says, to find their pressure points so that when it comes down to a firefight, which it will, in his opinion, we can hit them where it hurts, and we know how to kill them better.
Why do you think the tree chose Jake Sully? I mean, the answer may as well be just moving the plot forward, right?
Yeah.
But seeing the incredible depth that we only have figured out about this movie 10 years later, things like the Stanford t-shirt, I think it's because the tree knew, no, we can't do it to Sigourney Weaver because she's benefited from this.
Yeah.
She's benefited from the system that is carrying us up in part. This guy is a nothing. He's a nobody. He can give this up. No one else can.
Yeah, and like there's another guy that was one of the science nerds who was like friends with Sully's brother, who like read up on it, and he knows Na'vi and he knows the names for everything. And when Sully gets picked, he's like annoyed for a long time. But also, he couldn't get picked either. Not just because he benefited, but because he thinks he knows. And the reason that she picked Jake Sully more than anything is that he was baby.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he's baby.
He could be trained. He could be deprogrammed. The fucking nerd could not be deprogrammed because his scientific approach to this problem that is embedded within the insanity of imperialism that he doesn't even see means that he would never. There would be so many points of resistance that he would never be able to be turned into an actual person in the one of the people.
So so what is the actual like intelligence that he's gathering here? Here is where it gets into, I would say, not just one of the more subversive parts of this movie, but one of the like in a giant Hollywood blockbuster mega movie, like an actually revolutionary element of this movie is the place where the Netheria and her tribe live is called Home Tree. And like they live in like a village that is inside this like gigantic tree. massive. Like I said, the size of a skyscraper. Keep that in mind. And then, like, Jake explains to Quatrich, the military asshole, like, oh, like, no, it's supported internally by all these different, like, struts and columns and, like, inner superstructures that you don't see from the outside. And he's like, aha, very interesting. So, while this is going on, he spends, months with them, and he learns their ways. He learns how to hunt. He learns how to ride one of the dragons. He learns how to ride one of the horses. He ports into them with his ponytail tentacles, and eventually he is officially made part of the people. He is sort of initiated. He's bar mitzvahed. He becomes a member of their community officially. He's patched in, exactly. Okay, now, here's something that I have to mention about our film experience in watching this movie that drove me absolutely insane, and I thought I was losing my mind. After Jake gets bar mitzvahed by the Na'vi people, the Zoe Saldana character takes him into some sort of a grotto with glowing tendrils of the spirit tree. And she says, now as an official man in our community, you can choose a woman. You can choose a mate. And he tells her, I already have. And they come together, and they join. They kiss each other and make love. When we watched this movie, we rented it on Amazon Prime, and I was waiting for one thing in this scene, and one thing alone. And that is the scene where Jake Sully and Netheria have sex by joining their ponytail, like sort of genital tentacles together, and intertwining them together in the exact same way they have already shown him intertwine his genital tendrils into a horse and a flying dinosaur.
Yeah, but
that did not happen in the Amazon Prime version of this movie we watched, and I thought I was losing my mind. We had just talked about on our last episode, that was like a major feature that we were laughing about the movie. One of the weirdest parts of this movie is that the Na'vi's like sexual functions and their basically beasts of burden are physically penetrated and but the same way.
That's how you drive a car, though.
The Amazon Prime version of this movie retroactively edited that scene out. Yeah. And I swear to God, I thought I was losing my mind because I remembered that vividly when I first saw this movie in the theater. You want to talk about evil? You want to talk about empire? Jeff Bezos or whoever, or like Fox or whoever put this fucking movie out, knew that people made fun of that element of this movie in the past, and they edited it out of the movie without telling anybody, thus creating like this fucking Mandela effect, gaslighting effect in my brain, where we had to look it up online to find out that it had been fucking changed.
Yes.
It's evil, demonic.
Yeah, I think Bezos personally probably took that out. Bezos probably hates this movie has to be it's totally against what Jeff Bezos wants and his designs of the world.
He's Giovanni Ribisi. He watches that movie. He's like, you know what? If he did some more workflows, this never would have happened.
I have to believe this is his personal evil. And one thing Bernie can do during the Biden presidency is call hearings about this.
Yes.
Jeff Bezos, who's named his planet-eating company after the fucking the Earth Pandora that we are in the process of annihilating completely.
Yes. Yeah.
He's fucking bragging about it.
While we are recording this episode, a piece of Earth's Pandora, the size of the state of Connecticut, has just been burned by cattle ranchers in Brazil,
and he loves it. That's fucking reptile. That picture of him. Picture of him eating that fucking iguana, man.
The picture, that is one of the most evil pictures I've ever seen. God damn it.
It's like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this, Jeffrey? Why are you just creating human misery by the boatload and creating a wealth that is inconceivable and unusable by you in any meaningful sense? Well, I get to eat a lizard. I get to do cannibalism in front of you, and it's just fun.
It's just a slight digression, though. I mean, this is one of my greatest fears about the degradation of our culture and the corporate domination of every facet of our life is now that all art is like streaming, and that like nobody has it like physically. They just have access to a library that they like. Oh, everything's there. It's great. Like, I don't have to worry about where's the DVD, or do I put this in my Discman or whatever. Yeah, it's great in one sense, and I like it. But the terrifying thing, though, is that the fact that it all exists on a cloud controlled by Amazon means that they can, at the push of a button, erase entire swaths of our culture or edit out things that are inconvenient about things that we've already all experienced. Like, remove it from our cultural memory without telling anyone, and for nefarious reasons, they can do that at the push of a fucking button. So if you have that out there, a copy of the original uncensored Avatar with the alien tentacle fucking scene, please let me know, because I need a copy of this. I cannot bear to think that beautiful scene of love was robbed from us.
And on the flip side, this is not the only one of this. The only movies that this is true of. If you watch the Nicolas Cage Wicker Man on Amazon, the one scene that everybody wants to watch in that movie, where he is screaming about the bees,
No, the bees
cut out.
Yes, they removed it entirely from the version of the Wicker Man that you can rent on Amazon.
I guess because like those things are cringe, and we can't have anything cringe. Everything has to be smoothed over and like digestible, and nothing could be too like earnest or weird or embarrassing or cringy. Because if everyone is pursuing not being cringe or consuming cringe, then they're guaranteed to only absorb the most like flavorless mush. Because that's the only way you can guarantee you're not going to encounter something that's going to maybe hit you the wrong way, maybe make you feel embarrassed in some way, and we can't have that. Everything's got to be a smooth, just content orb that you just put a fucking entertainment pellet that you swallow.
I mean, it is not inconceivable that, I don't know, 5, 10, 15 years down the line, if you go to rent Avatar on Amazon, you want to show your kid, hey, this is James Cameron's movie, changed every blah, blah, blah. These Chapo guys, they really put me onto it. And you'll go to rent it, and the movie will have been with computers just made into a different movie where Giovanni Ribisi is the good guy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where when they show up, that he introduces himself to the cadets, and instead of saying you're not in Kansas anymore, it's like, it looks like Pandora happened. If you see any 7 feet tall Smurfs, say hi for me.
Yeah. He like starts a charter school for Na'vi children to join the mining company, and then the movie ends with him saying "Bazinga."
Remember, Black Panther literally ends with a goddamn opening charter schools.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
No, this is like, man. They have made it harder to pirate than ever, and they have never given you a greater reason to pirate.
Absolutely.
All right, so back to the film itself. Eventually, like, it's all coming to a head because the mining company knows that one of the single biggest deposits of unobtainium is right under the home tree where all the Na'vi live.
Darn it.
And, like, they know that, like, look, this is the only reason we're indulging any of this Avatar bullshit or any of, like, the teaching them English or any of this bullshit is to get them to move from, like, their ancestral home so that we can bulldoze it and fucking strip mine it.
But that'll be it, though. After they do that, that's fine. It'll be done.
Yeah.
The Na'vi will go somewhere else, and then we got our unobtainium, and we'll be gone now. Bye-bye. Thank you for letting us take your tree away.
Yeah.
So eventually, the Stephen Lang's character, the military guy, uses Jake Sully's own words to make the case for why we should just fucking attack them right now. Like, because and the more Jake Sully begins to sympathize with them and become a part of them, like he says in his own little video diaries, like, everything they sent me here to do is pointless. Like, these people are not going to leave. They're not going to become like us because we have nothing to offer them.
Yep.
Yes.
Like, they have their way of life is perfect for them. There is nothing about our world or our way of life.
Relationship already. They don't have to go to space to try to get some more resources to keep the whole thing from falling apart.
Yes.
So, and then Giovanni Ribisi's character is like, I mean, is there a way we can do it sort of like sort of humanitarian? Can we like limit civilian casualties or whatever? And Quattrich is like, I'll shoot gas at them first.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's
like,
key because
all right, okay.
Because you can't have Quattrich can't be in charge. If Quattrich is in charge, then you don't have a system of like coordinating like the capital machinery to anything other than just conflict. Conflict is just supposed to be the tool. You has to be a tool. The tool has to be wielded by a guy who has been sufficiently conditioned by culture to know, we got to press the button and kill these people's tree and kill as many of them it takes to get the unobtainium. But I got to feel bad about it.
And the other smart thing that they make clear in this movie is that it's not just like they're on some alien planet, they got the guns, they can just fucking blow these fucking blue people away if they want, steal their shit. They do make clear that people on Earth are aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
Like through the media and things like that, like the Iraq War. Like, for instance, if Blackwater does a fucking massacre, or we shoot like enough depleted uranium into Fallujah to like lower the birth rate for the next 5 generations and poison an entire city of people, that kind of looks bad.
Yeah, people go like, maybe
people can make it angry about
if
that.
If we're doing this, maybe we shouldn't do all the other things that this thing feeds. And you have to keep that, like, people know it at a deep level, but you can't remind it of it too much.
It can't be in their face.
Yes.
So, he's like, yeah, okay, like, all right, let's just pull the trigger on this. Let's start the operation. So, like, Quattrich and his jarheads, they assemble their locust-like swarm of, like, attack helicopters and this gigantic gunship, and they all amass on Home Tree. They shoot it full of gas. Jake Sully's trying to warn them, but like he is prior to this, like, sort of outed himself as like, hey, like, guess what? Like, I'm only here because I've been a spy the whole time.
Oops.
And they feel a little pissed off about that. I mean, the girl he just had sex with is just like,
it's essentially like one of those like one of those guys who infiltrates like Antifa and then like has a girlfriend.
And then gets her pregnant or something. Yeah. Which, by the way, cops are legally allowed to do.
They love doing it. They insist.
They can have sex with women as part of their cover.
Yeah.
Even though it's basically rape.
Yeah.
Anyway, so, yeah. So then, like, there is an amazing scene in this movie. And even when I first saw it, I didn't really like it. This scene really stuck out in my brain. And this is what I'm getting, like, not just subversive, but actually, like, potentially revolutionary. They shoot gas into this giant tree, and then they're like target the inner superstructure of the tree, and they shoot incendiary missiles into the base of this giant tree, and this, like I said, giant skyscraper tree full of the Na'vi people collapses and implodes into itself in a gigantic cloud of smoke. And you were watching this, and it is unmistakable that James Cameron is recreating 9/11, but we are doing it.
Yes.
And this is when we were watching it, like, this is the point. Felix, you said it. The point of this movie that Cameron is saying is that America does 9/11 every single day to the rest of the world.
Yes. This movie, if I had to sum up the point of Avatar, it's 9/11 every day. Mm-hmm. That's what it's about. That's what it's about more than anything. Yeah. And this is like, you will never see another fucking director do this ever.
Yeah, like the closest is like maybe Spielberg doing War of the Worlds, where it's like, oh, it's 9/11, but it's happening to Americans. It's happening to Tom Cruise. Like, our victimhood is like being eroticized, whereas this is saying, 9/11, that's horrible, all that stuff. Oh, remember that happened to us? No, that's what we do. That is what we do.
We're the 9/11 doers.
We're the 9/11 doers.
There's a great scene where Quattrich is the Muhammad Atta of this operation, and he's overseeing it all, and he's in the cockpit of this giant, like, gunship, and there's a great little detail where he's just sipping coffee. He's just sipping his coffee, and he's like, all right, commence firing. Takes a little sip. It's just like the casual banality of just him getting on with his day as he's about to like fucking nuke this like the home, but also this this gigantic beautiful tree. It's the World Trade Tree. I swear to God.
Yeah, yes.
So that happens, and and then Jake is, of course, his human body is incarcerated back at the military base for betraying the Marines for going native, and then along with Sigourney Weaver and the other science bitches. But then, like, they are freed by Michelle Rodriguez's character. I haven't mentioned her so far, but she's a helicopter pilot who she's supposed to take part in the 9/11 attack, but is disgusted by it and chooses not to fire. She breaks off. She breaks rank.
I want to point out, I love Michelle Rodriguez's performance in this. I love her character, and she says this is another thing that people probably made fun of when it came out, but now is genius. What does she say when she breaks rank? I didn't sign up for this shit.
Yeah.
And it's like the smart-ass thing to say at the time was like, oh, yeah, no, this is exactly what you signed up for. But no, that's his point.
Yeah.
Is that you're so alienated, not just from yourself, from your family. You're so alienated from your own labor that you don't even realize what you're doing.
Yeah. You are in a cog who is not even aware of their function within the system until the moment of truth.
Yes,
and the whole point of all that superstructural stuff that's in the compound that they the whole gamut of humans on Pandora represent is there to keep you to a point where you're kept from the moment of truth until you're ready to press the button.
Yes,
and she's the one person, and I think the fact that she's a woman and that she is not white is part of maybe why she does that, but everyone makes that choice, and it's like the reason I think people get annoyed by things like this because it's like, oh, look at these, you're having all these colonial monsters like turn against the system. Well, some of them, but the vast majority of them don't.
Yes,
the vast majority of people just do what they're fucking told.
Yes.
So she breaks him out of the brig, and hops in the helicopter and takes off. And during their escape, Sigourney Weaver is shot by Stephen Lang. And this is the thing, they repossess the technologies and the tools of this corporate imperial power to fight it, to turn against it, to help the Na'vi, to bring together the Na'vi, their indigenous struggle against a technologically superior colonial power, but joining it with not just the actual the guns and tools created by that same power, but as you said earlier about Jake Sully, the knowledge of how empire actually works to turn it against it.
Yep, and that's another thing people complain. Oh, it's white saviorism. Well, I'm sorry. I mean, and this is the difference between that sort of mopey, liberal, colonial narrative is a technologically inferior society. If it is opposed by a unified technologically superior society, is going to lose every time, because the guys with the technology, they might be insane husks, but they're insane husks that can press a button that makes us that gives them the power of, in one of them, almost every one of the other less advanced technological societies. They will lose unless they can get the button pushers to stop pushing the button or turn the button on the fucking actual people who are making everything or are driving the conflict. That's that's white saviorism, whatever, but that's actually solidarity and cooperation just across a culture, not within one. And that is what we can't recognize and what our culture kind of teaches us to act like cannot be transgressed. That was Cameron's real sin with this movie, ideologically, was suggesting that, no, you actually can be different. It is not just like the narrative of being like a colonial a colonial foot soldier or someone who benefits from empire is not just, yeah, boy, things could be different. Boy, those people sure seem to have the right way of it. But oh well, guy, I got a 401k after all. That's the realism. That's the capitalist realism embedded in all the racial pessimist narratives that people react to and what they are comforted by, and Cameron by saying no, that border is permeable and is that makes people uncomfortable, because that really is the only potential liberatory connection that could be made. The only real revolutionary connection is one that bridges that kind of species or racial or cultural barrier.
And the leader of their tribe was killed in 9/11, and Jake Sully has to return after betraying these people, but he regains their trust by riding and fucking an even bigger sky dragon. It's not important, but he gains their trust and becomes their Ho Chi Minh.
Yeah,
and he unites not just like the World Tree tribe, but he travels around like there are other parts of Pandora, and he brings together like the warriors from many disparate tribes, and to say that, look, if we don't stop these people now, they're coming for all of you.
Yep. And
there's a scene where he actually prays to the World Tree, and Sigourney Weaver has died, but like they've sort of I don't know, the tendrils of the World Tree have sort of like accessed her memories, and like she's died but has been absorbed into the neural network that unites the entire planet. Mm-hmm. And he prays to the World Tree, and he says, like, if Grace is in there, then you have her memories. That you can see her memories, you can see what she's seen in her life. And you will know that the planet she comes from, there is no green there. It's dead. And if you don't help us, we will do that to you. Like, that's what Pandora will look like if we are not stopped here and now.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the thing is, and it does lead to this climactic battle, and you guys can talk about it. But like, when we start talking about, like, Jake Sully is this fucking nobody. He's a boring character. You don't even remember his face after watching this fucking movie.
I didn't even remember his name.
Yeah, I couldn't pick Sam Worthington out of a room if he was standing in front of me right now. But the interesting thing is, how does Jake Sully become a human being? How does he become a character? It is only through laying down his life in an act of revolutionary violence against the capitalist imperial state.
Yeah, like that's his actual, like, he doesn't, because he's still in the avatar body and in his human body, and it isn't until he, like, drives the humans off that he is able to become just of Na'vi. That's what allowed him to finally, like, sever the connection to transform himself.
But yeah, it only happens after slaughtering hundreds of his fellow soldiers.
In another 9/11. And that's 9/11 as we experienced it. They're doing 9/11 to our brave troops, but you're rooting for them to do it.
Yes.
Yes, by that point, like, he made you feel terrible when he saw 9/11 happen to the Na'vi people. Then he makes you feel elated when they do it to us.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a specific moment that Felix pointed out where one of the Na'vi guys, they come from the sky onto these, like, helicopter things to attack these dudes who are, like, gun shipping in to wipe them out. And one of the blue warriors, who was friend zoned by Jake Sully's girlfriend, he jumps into the opened rear hatch,
the bay door is open, and they're getting ready to push out this gigantic cargo pallet of explosives.
Yeah,
to blow up the world, like the spirit tree that, like, is the most sacred thing in their culture and, like, in their ecosystem itself.
Yeah,
and they're getting ready to push out of the back of this giant cargo plane this, like, giant pallet of explosives. And yeah, like the one of the warriors, like, jumps off the back of his flying dragon into the back of this fucking plane, and there's like 6 fucking jarheads there, and he just starts grabbing them, like this 12-foot tall fucking, like,
he's
angelic
blue.
warrior.
He's got he's got, like, feathers on. He's got, like, bangles. He's a fully actualized, like, human being, and these guys
little
are these
rat-like grubs who are just
disgusting,
like in military
little
uniforms
gray men
and guns. He starts just grabbing them one at a time and throwing them out of the back of this plane.
Yes,
as they're screaming and falling to their deaths. And I swear to God, we were just like pumping your fists in the air. Yes, yes, yes. Kill them all. Kill the brutes. Exterminate the brutes.
Exterminate the brutes.
Like Colonel Kurtz says.
Yeah.
But We are the brutes.
Yep.
We are the brutes.
Yep.
We are the savages,
Yep.
and we must be killed.
Yep.
And I mean, not reasoned with, or that we come together to an understanding that, like, geez, I guess the environment is important. I guess there's a way to sustainably harvest the resources of Pandora so that we can build more shit back on Earth.
Yeah. You either have to stop, fight it, or you have to be defeated. That's it.
And that is, and like I said, I remember like conservative movie dorks being furious at this movie because they were like, I never would have thought that, like, you know, the sort of sci-fi analog stand-ins for U.S. soldiers, like that audiences would be expected to cheer to see them fucking put to the sword.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And people did. And, you know, Felix, you're 100% right. Guys like Dan Crenshaw can do epic fucking meme shit about Captain America and Thanos, Marvel movies. And so Tom Cotton, I'm sure when he runs for president, will be like memeing about the Avengers and shit. Can't do it for this movie.
Nope.
No.
Never gonna happen.
No.
Never gonna happen.
No. Dan Crenshaw he will never sell to you that he relates to Avatar. He will, to the extent that he knows about it, he hates this movie.
Mm-hmm.
But you know who else would hate it? John Brennan.
Yep.
They all hate it because they are all the bad guys in it. 9/11 happens to it, and Americans cheered at it. That is why
We were the people dancing in the street in New Jersey.
That is why you will never see memes about Avatar. That's
Yep.
why everyone you know who is alive saw it and loved it, even if they won't admit it.
I definitely did. And then here's another part of that, and this is a very important part of it, is that James Cameron, unlike all the people who have like created this new hegemonic blockbuster theatrical experience, which it's gone for now. We'll see if it comes back. Hint, hint. But those guys, they understand that like the text of the film is to be by the audience, not experienced emotionally, but processed intellectually, turned into memes. Like maybe you cry because you see all of your super friends together in one shot or whatever, but that's literally just hitting your nostalgia button. Like, hey,
Yes.
You remember when you read these when you were a kid and you thought life had meaning and you weren't and everything wasn't going to suck?
Remember how happy you were when it turned out Spider-Man wasn't dead?
Yeah, exactly.
Because
Like,
you
it's pure
convinced
cynicism.
yourself that he was dead and we'd
Yep.
never see Spider-Man again.
Yep.
And then when
it was-
he came back, you were really happy.
Yeah, like that's the only emotion in them. Like the emotion in Avatar is comes from the experience of watching it, and that if you saw it in the theater, man, with the 3D, it's the best 3D I've ever seen in a movie because it was shot by James Cameron on 3D cameras that he fucking designed.
That he designed, like, and that is the other
He
amazing thing about
designed-
Cameron
yeah.
is that like every movie he does, like, and Avatar is a perfect example of this. And like, you know, we've shitted on CGI effects in movies before, but James Cameron is really the only director I can think of that invents the technology that didn't prior exist to do the thing to fulfill the creative vision that he has in his head. And if it doesn't need to be done with computers, he won't do it. But with something like Pandora, like what the vision that he is hoping to achieve needs to be done digitally.
Yep.
And he needs to do that by creating new technology. And I'm sorry, Avatar is the only movie I've seen probably since Terminator 2 that has meaningfully moved the ball forward on special effects technology.
Yep.
Yeah.
And what was it done? What did everyone else do with it? Hey, they paid more for this 3D ticket. Well, let's just take a bunch of piece of shit movies we were already shooting in 2D, convert them afterward to 3D, which means that the screen, it's literally darkens the image and makes it harder to watch. And then we're going to charge them twice as much for a ticket.
Yeah. That is, I think, like the final thing we want to get to about this movie is Cameron isn't just an amazing director. I mean, he's up there with Spielberg. I think they're about equal levels of talent just as filmmakers. Cameron writes all his own material. This is all original material by him. He's not taking History Channel bullshit and turning it into slop that makes you go support the war in Kosovo. He's not doing that. But not just that. If it wasn't already amazing enough that he creates Terminator after a food poisoning nightmare he got, he invents technologies.
Yeah.
And he doesn't just invent technologies and use them and changes cinema and expression, but he commands armies of people, 50,000 people working on something, like billion-dollar budgets, and he commands them flawlessly. Yeah. He earns everyone's respect. He's not like an exacting prick. He knows exactly what he wants. If he sees you painting a set piece, he's coincidentally has read 10,000 fucking pages about like polymer painting and is going to show you the way to hold the brush right. And he'll be right.
Yeah.
There are so many stories I've heard from film people about Cameron on set that he knows exactly what every one of the 10,000 people on that set are doing. What everyone's job is.
Yep.
What leader in America is like that?
Yeah, no, nobody has any. Everyone has the most narrow aperture of knowledge, which the more power you have is the more removed from the actual thing it takes to do what you're directing, the more it's just like some fucking PowerPoint shit you learned in college and not the actual like, hey, what are we doing here? What are the actual like component processes that make up this project? No, I was like, oh, wow, well, there should be we want the Smurfs. Can we have the big Smurfs? Can they have a Nike swoosh on the back or whatever the fuck? And that is why I've realized, we were talking about this last time. We said, movie looks like they're going away. And the thing that might honestly save them is the fact that motherfucking Cameron is right now in New Zealand in a city-sized set making 3 Avatar movies. And a lot of people say, when it was announced and when they started shooting it, they say, oh my God, who asked for this? And the answer is, we all did in our hearts. We didn't know it, but James did, and he's trying to bring it to us. I remember reading a story about how Cameron apparently came across some quote by a critic who said, it's weird how Avatar made all that money and has no cultural footprint. And he said, well, I'll show her a cultural footprint. And of course, that reads like an egomaniac. And the thing is, Cameron is an egomaniac because, he has this confidence and he has this ability to do stuff, which means he's probably not wasting time in his mind communicating things to people, at their level, which does definitely mean he ends up kind of going up his own ass in his own mind. But that's not just him saying, oh, yeah, I'll show you cultural import. It's that the reason that, as we said, there was no lasting thing about Avatar is that it couldn't be digested. It was emotional and it was subversive in a way that the memes and the cultural fallout of stuff like Star Wars and Marvel can't be. And so it didn't. And so when he says, I'll show you fucking cultural relevance, I'm going to make 3 more of these motherfucking movies, he's essentially saying, I am going to give you Avatar movies until you turn into fucking Na'vi.
And I think
watching these movies turns you into a goddamn Na'vi. There will be your fucking cultural relevance.
And if you don't believe us, watch this movie again. This movie, he started working on the special effects like during the Clinton administration.
Yep.
This looks better than any Marvel or DC or whatever fucking $1 trillion fucking movie. Yeah, it looks way better than Star Wars. Every CGI object has density, momentum, weight.
Yep.
Every battle you stand up and cheer, even when you're watching on a 20-inch TV, you stand up and cheer watching the Na'vi jump into space C-130s and destroy jarheads. When the 2 or 3 more of these comes out, when 4 or 5, no, this is humanity's last chance.
As Che Guevara said, 2, 3, many avatars.
Yes. Yes.
Well, no, I mean, what I want to say is when you're saying at the beginning, Avatar didn't have any lasting cultural impact because it wasn't memeable.
Yeah,
it wasn't a movie where everyone's doing lines to each other and referencing it in other movies and things like that. Because I think as a filmmaker, Cameron understands that movies are an experience, and he wants you to have an experience watching a movie to see something that you have never seen before. Yep. And that creates the potential for you to feel something that you've never felt before.
Yep.
And you know what? Again, there's plenty of this movie as sort of as jaded, kind of cynical, ironic people that may strike you as a little bit corny, right? But that's fine because I genuinely do think megalomaniacally or not, he wants you to feel something, and he wants to change the way you think, and he wants to save humanity.
Yep.
Yes.
And
He
it's
wants to
hey, why
save
don't you-
humanity.
It's like somebody says, and people point out, oh, wow, easy for him to say, Hollywood celebrity, this movie isn't going to change the world. That's cope. Yeah, we're all coping. Everybody's coping. But James Cameron can make a fucking movie. That's what he's good at. What do you want him to do? Something else that he would be worse at?
This is not Cameron is not the Orson Welles or the D.W. Griffith or that of our time. Because we live in a bug, soy, whatever you want to call it, time, whatever it is, hell world, clown world, fucking whatever. Our Napoleon is a film director.
As it had to be. As a society
Yes.
of spectacle, what job? Coordinating a vast bunch of people to get something done? Well, we have a military, but as we said, that's not their job. Their job is just to keep fighting. It's not to win anything. If you want to command people to a goal and see it achieved, you got to make a movie.
That is, he is Napoleon, he is Alexander, he is Xerxes.
Mm-hmm.
He is the greatest administrator in North America.
Yeah.
And I think back again, we talked about it last episode, how when we talked to Naomi Klein, she said, I don't know what can make Americans care about imperialism. It's right in front of us.
It's true.
It's right in front of us. And the thing, Avatar isn't, at the end of the day, it's not Dances with Wolves, or it's not any of those horrible Hollywood guilt pieces that they made in 2006 and 2007 after they booed Michael Moore for talking about the Iraq War at the Oscar. Suddenly, we feel bad. Here's a movie where Matt Damon is sad in Iraq.
Yeah.
No, it's not that, because they're all about defeat. Because the left in this country wants beautiful defeat.
Yep. Because they have accepted at a deep level their powerlessness because of their comfort. Our comfort is attached inextricably to this machine. There's no way that you can imagine sustaining yourself outside of this system, and so you have to cling to it even as you hate it. And then you have to just watch culture that allows you to sort of sublimate that feeling. And you're talking about how it doesn't have a cultural revenance, but when Avatar came out, there was a real phenomenon of people talking about how they were depressed after the movie because they couldn't go to Pandora. But what they were really depressed about is the fact that they fucking live on Pandora and we destroyed it.
We live here. We live it. But that's the message of the movie. You live here.
Yep.
But you
Navi.
live here, but the frontier does not have to be the frontier.
Yep.
Destroy the frontier. It's all... You are them. The people that live in the fucking rainforest, you are them. The people that live on iridium in Afghanistan, you are them.
Yes.
The people that live in Yemen, you are them.
Yes.
We're all them. There's no world tree physically there, but we're all them. Destroy the frontier, destroy the empire, and we will realize that we are all on Pandora together. That's it.
That's it.
That's it. However, if I could offer just one critique of the plot and the vision at the end of this movie that doesn't land quite right for me, even though I understand why he did it. At the very, very end of the movie, after the Na'vi are victorious, they expel all of the humans off of their planet, and then they allow some of them to stay, like the ones who fought with them. But there's a scene where they're sort of marching them all back onto their space shuttles to go home, Yankee, and they say, go back to your dying world. Knowing what we know, particularly about the history of the American conquest of the West in this country and our indigenous peoples in this country, the Na'vi should have killed all of them.
Well, for sure. But I will say, but about that, another answer to the question of who asked for this. This movie really need a sequel. Well, no, I mean there isn't a fucking post-credit sequence where Giovanni Ribisi gets back to Earth and there's a Na'vi guy with an eye patch gonna create a new fucking show to watch. The movie you watch is actually just a commercial for another movie. Psych. But just narratively, as an Earthling, as one of the people from the dying planet, that okay, they're gonna come back and kill all of them, unless Jake Sully and the Na'vi are able to turn enough of us into them to stop it. And I gotta think that that's what these movies are going to be about.
These movies are, I hope and I think they're going to be about the concept of obliterating the frontier.
Yes. Yep. because all this stuff, especially even the most like critically praised, like, post-colonial narratives, they all reify the frontier at every point. They say that because you're in a different society, because one is an extractor and one is an oppressed person, there can be no like human connection there. And it's like, well, yeah, as a matter of the mechanistic outcomings of people's relationship to the means of production, that's true. But God damn it, you're also a fucking human being. And the only hope we have is that individual human beings, enough of them in a chain of reaction, have a literal change of heart, are able to transform themselves from within. Turn the dying planet into Pandora, turn themselves into the fucking Navi.
That is the only shot for humanity.
Yep.
It's not, the only shot for humanity is that hundreds of millions of people have a change of heart.
Yep. It's not going to be people feeling like bad about themselves. And of course, the main thing that's going to make this happen is not going to be a movie, obviously.
No, obviously not. We know that.
It's going to be literally people in their workplaces, number one, and in their families and in their communities, like building connections and relationships to each other that awaken within them an understanding that, oh shit, like these things that I thought I had to put up with because there's no other way to organize a society except chasing after the fucking carrot at the end of the stick that the banker is holding over your face. Oh no, there's actually a way for us to conduct our affairs equitably. There's a way to distribute surplus justly if we acknowledge the common humanity of everybody within our group, and those groups expand. And, if that's going to happen, one part of it is going to be people having experiences, not just in their lives, but in their entertainment realities. And if there's going to be a hope, it's not going to be because Avatar, if we save the world, it's not going to be because of Avatar, obviously. But I do feel like if there are future textbooks of like the bad time and how we got through them, there will at least be like one page, about Avatar. Oh, in the middle of this thing where the empire was like eating itself and going insane and its last throes of like colonial madness, the biggest movie was about how the machine was a diseased freak that needed to be put down.
Yeah, and all other movies were about how the diseased freak has a human face and is in fact good and your friend.
Yep.
They were about
enough empowerment zones among the Navi, enough midnight basketball on Pandora, and you'll be able to achieve this synthesis where you never break down the barriers, you never change the relationship of exploiter and exploited and oppressor and oppressed, but everyone's nice enough everyone's accepted their lot enough that there doesn't have to be a lot of that horrible violence. You don't have to have the mean guy with the scars shooting people because everybody has essentially conditioned themselves to accept it.
I just think like what makes Cameron interesting and different and an auteur is more than any other like big budget blockbuster, enormously popular artist. His films, whether it is The Terminator killing an entire police station full of cops, whether it is the T-1000 literally being a cop, whether it is the Colonial Marines and aliens being washed out immediately, washed and totally unprepared for the alien force that they face, or whether it is a Navi throwing fucking Marines out of the back of an airplane as you cheer ecstatically. James Cameron in his movies really does portray in a way that is entertaining, in a way that kind of like, it gets through under your natural defenses.
Exactly.
That America is the bad guy.
Yep.
We are the bad guys. When you see a movie and there's like it's the Empire in Star Wars, or it's Thanos, and you see the evil conquering forces in movies that are fought by good people, that is America.
Yep. And why is that? Partially because Cameron is a fucking Canadian.
Yes. There is another thing. Pretty much all his movies are about the evil of America or the American Empire in one way or the other. But I think one thing his movies are positively about, all of them are about motherhood.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
And how that is like motherhood and like nurturing is the antidote to the psychosis and the violence and the inevitably, as you said, the inevitably self-defeating and annihilating violence that will destroy the old thing itself. Like that's the big thing is that Cameron is pointing out these systems are terrible, but it's not like, oh, it's so sad that they're doing that, but I guess they're just going to keep doing it forever. No,
there's something
embedded
else
within it. It will be destroyed. Everyone will be destroyed. the only antidote is the opposite of that. Is motherhood, is nurturing, is community.
Yeah. I would love to get into T2 and about how it's about motherhood, but this would be a 4-hour episode.
Yeah.
Then I think we have to save that for another time.
Yeah.
I think we should wrap it up here.
Yeah.
And I will close by saying to all of the Jake Sully babies out there listening, and I include myself
Absolutely,
in that category.
We're all Jake Sullys.
We are all baby. We are all Jake Sully babies. We see you. James Cameron sees you.
Yep.
This is Chapo Trap House signing off
From Pandora.
from Pandora.
Where you live too.
Yep.
Bye.